So Smile 2 has been out in the theaters for a week now, and I finally had a chance to go see it, so let's talk about it. 2 years ago, the first film, Smile, came out in theaters, and a lot of people had different things to say about it. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people disliked it. Personally, I was one of the people that actually did find enjoyment out of it, and personally, liked the movie. And then Smile 2 was announced, which I didn't think that we were going to be getting, but you know, that movie was pretty popular, so it only makes sense that we were going to be getting a sequel. And then the trailer dropped for Smile 2, and I thought, wow, this is really cringy. And I only thought that they were making it to make money, which, you know, a lot of studios do. And then I started hearing a lot of praise for the movie, saying that it's way better than the first movie and, surprisingly, a great movie. So I finally saw it, and yes, to my surprise, it was surprisingly great. And what's funny is that I just recorded a video talking about surprisingly great horror sequels, and it's funny that we just got another surprisingly great horror sequel. A little bit about the movie is that it is about this pop star sensation, Sky Riley, played by Naomi Scott, who, by the way, gives an Oscar-worthy performance. I know she's definitely not going to be getting an Oscar nomination for it, but she definitely puts in a fantastic performance. And everything is starting to get to her. The stress of being in the music industry and all of the trauma in her past, including drug addiction and losing her actor friend in a car accident that she was also in. And now, pretty much a year after all that stuff happens, she's trying to reform herself and become a better person. But soon some very scary things start to happen in which she starts to see a bunch of random people smiling at her. And to try and stop it, she has to confront her past to change the rest of her life. So for those who didn't know, Parker Finn, the writer and director of Smile and Smile 2, was also the creator of the short film that came out before Smile called Laura Hasn't Slept, which is the basically prequel to Smile, in which it's just a short film around Laura, which is actually the woman in Smile who ends up offing herself in front of the main character of that movie, which is what spreads the entity virus to her. Now, that short film is great. I definitely recommend watching it, and I think it's really cool that Parker Finn had made that movie 2 years before Smile, and then Smile got greenlit, and then now we have Smile 2 2 years later. So Parker Finn has had a pretty cool career in the last, 4 years. But anyways, back to Smile 2, because I really like this movie. The movie opened up 6 days after the events of Smile, in which the character that witnessed the death in the first movie at the very end is now trying to pass along this virus to the next person. But what was so absolutely captivating about the opening of this movie is that it was completely done in a one-take shot. Now, could there have been some clever editing to make it look like a complete one-take? Yes, and there probably was at some points throughout it, because it was a pretty long one-take. I'd say at least 7 minutes. It was a pretty long one-take, and it was beautifully executed. I mean, it was so captivating. I was pulled into the screen, and Parker Finn really was telling us, I am a good director, and this is what you're going to be witnessing the rest of this movie. And yes, he was right. That pulled me in for the rest of the movie. Now, I personally believe that Smile 2's story is far more interesting than Smile, because rather than a story about a woman confronting her childhood trauma, this movie was about a pop star confronting multiple things. She's confronting drug addiction, and she's confronting trauma in which someone else's life was taken because of something that she was a part of. And I think it was far more captivating and, definitely more of a contemporary story. I think the most interesting part of the movie was the way they connected this entity to drug addiction, in which everything that was basically happening to Sky Riley's character while she was witnessing all of these horrific visions that she was seeing, it all felt so eerily similar to people's reactions to drugs and trying to overcome drug addiction. And it was really scary, because we could really connect ourselves to her character, in which the people around her kind of think that she's sort of leaning back into her old ways of drug addiction, when really this vicious entity is just taking over her mind. One thing I will say about Smile 2 that I thought about even with the trailer being released is that I know Parker Finn really wanted the actors to have their own smiles, so they didn't do any sort of CGI to make the smiles look creepier than they are. But there were just some moments in this movie and with the first Smile movie where the smiles just look so... I'm not going to say creepy, because obviously that's what the movie's trying to go for, is making smiles look creepy. But the only way I can describe it is just the director telling the actor, like, okay, so you're just going to smile here. And that's what it kind of was. It just looked like actors that kind of weren't taking their job super seriously when it came to the smiling aspect. I don't know if that sounds super silly, but that in some moments throughout the movie, I was like, I don't know how to feel about it. But then there were other times where, like, for example, Naomi Scott, when she's smiling, holy crap, it's creepy. And it doesn't look like you just told someone to smile. It was genuinely creepy when she was doing it. Maybe that is just a nitpick from my point of view, but it genuinely just felt like a bunch of actors not taking the job seriously. But, you know, maybe that honestly just adds to the horrific aspects of the movie. But anyways, going into more good things about it is that I don't typically get scared at horror movies, because it's mainly just a bunch of jump scares that I can sort of predict happen. But in this movie, I jumped a good 4 to 5 times. I mean, and they were good jumps too, because the movie and the way Parker Finn writes it, he really distracts you. He distracts you in which you think that something's going to happen, and then it doesn't, and then a couple seconds later something does happen. So you're sort of like moving away from thinking that something's going to happen, and then something does, and it just spooks you. And that happened to me. If I had popcorn in my hand, it would have been up in the air in like 2 to 3 scenes. I genuinely lifted out of my seat, which doesn't happen. So I give all of my applause to Parker Finn, because he somehow wrote a movie and directed a movie that actually made me scared. Now, as far as plot twist goes, there were a couple, but there was one pretty main one that's one of the bigger ones of the movie that I predicted very early on, and I think I predicted it early on because of the first Smile movie, because something similar happens in that movie, and I was just watching this one and I was like, okay, like, I've seen a bunch of movies that have done this sort of plot twist before, and I think that's what's happening, and then it did happen, so I was like, oh, okay. But it didn't pull me out of the movie at all. Like I said, I predicted it early on, and I think the scares and the overall moving of the story was still really well done and very well paced. But as far as that plot twist go, because I know a lot of people go into movies to really be shocked by the plot twist, I personally wasn't when this one was revealed, but maybe that was just me. Now, obviously, you weren't warned at the beginning of this video about any spoilers, because there won't be any spoilers in this video, but I will be doing an ending explained where I talk about the overall analysis of the movie and that really kind of crazy ending. That's just a little bit of a foreshadow for you, because the ending was pretty crazy, but I won't go into it in this video, so make sure you stick around for that one. But moving forward from that little thing that I had about the plot twist, everything about this movie felt very great. And I think Parker Finn really knows how to scare an audience, but I think he also knows how to write a really well done story. And when it comes to horror, and I've mentioned this before, that gore is very much taking over the overall horror genre and doesn't really focus too much on the story. But Parker Finn really does a great job incorporating both gore and a good story into one thing. And I give him all my praise for that, because he's doing a great job. And genuinely, I want to see another Smile movie. I would love to see Smile 3. Overall, I think Smile 2 was a great movie. I personally loved it, and it was such an improvement on the first movie. And I even liked that one, but it was such an improvement and so surprisingly great. I was thinking that this was going to be a sequel that was only made to make money, but oh my gosh, it did such a great job continuing the lore and story. But that'll bring us to the end of my review for Smile 2, and I'm very interested to see what you thought of Smile 2, so make sure to let me know in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in between? I want to know. And remember that I'm going to be doing an ending explain video for this movie as well, so make sure to stick around for that. But anyways, that'll bring it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. I appreciate every single one of you, and remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.